kilo by Sproul.
Chris is coming back over the top.
Good evening or good morning. What the hell's going on here?
Top of the morning to you, Greg.
Top of the morning. Welcome to the Koa Sports Warrior Race. Someone's had a bit of a long night, it looks like. So
people would be able to sympathise.
Absolutely. If you've got children out there, I'm sure you can sympathise with Tim needing a coffee at this time of the day. So welcome to the Koa Sports Warrior Race. We are on, Tim, the Sand and Sequoias course this evening or this morning, and this is definitely one of my favourite courses in Zwift world.
We could chalk that up because we've already had a mispronunciation of Sequoia. You just said Sequoias.
It's got an S at the end.
Yeah, well,
is it silent?
we get corrected all the time.
It's
and
silent.
of course, we got Kent on special
We do
comments.
have Kent.
Welcome, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Good to have you here. You're not tired this week like last time. We needed to give you a bit of a lift.
We need
lift.
to get the paddles out on him and get him moving again.
No, you're doing good, mate. But yeah, of course, we are doing one lap of Sand and Sequoia, about 20 Ks, about 180 metres of climbing. First 10 Ks flat. Let's have a look at the ride through. Let's have a look here and take you through what to expect.
So definitely, Tim, this one starts out flat and little BMC in there too. So we start out flat and we roll right around the desert section through the Fuego flats, and this is an area where things can get a little bit boring for the riders. This is the start finish right there. So
yeah, you come through that twice.
You don't want to clock off in this race because it's certainly a race that can catch you out. We have had big attacks off the front here before.
Yeah, like I said, the first 10 Ks, obviously you're going to see the first 2 Ks of some pretty big numbers. Things start to settle down, but don't be surprised if you see some attacks here on the flats. We've seen that before in the Koa Sports Warrior Race on this circuit. And people, of course, we've got some teams in tonight. We've got at least 10 riders in the paddock with ratings of under 200 on Zwift Power. Here, of course, which was really good of Zwift, they did a life-like replica of Nathan's house. You can just see it up there, just on the right-hand side.
That's
Nathan's mansion. So that was pretty amazing of Zwift to put that in the game. And so they'll roll through here. You get the dirty old Vegas, as we like. This is the first little bit, 3%. You see top right, and this is coming sort of the end of the sand circuit and down and up into the Titans Grove area where things start to get interesting.
Yeah, starts to, you got one climb, then she flattens out, and then you want to hold with the group here. It's definitely the puncheurs are the riders that will be looking to attack through this section. And then we hit, Tim?
Hit the com. We start to hit the com. So right here, this is where things really start to happen. Generally, though, with these high-quality riders, it's very hard to break away. You need to be pushing massive numbers or some sort of coordinated attack. And then through the top half, maybe, where that log comes across the road about here, you can see some attacks that people wanted to take the com out just for a little goal if they're doing some training or using the race. And then it starts to come off the top and back through the back end. But
the hills aren't finished.
The hills aren't finished. It can catch people here.
There's 4 pinches on the way back down. So as you roll downhill, there's 4 times that we go over 6%.
Yep.
So some real little punches. I remember you tried to drop me here not too long ago. So, there's 3 or 4 of those as you come through, and then you'll wind right back down through the end of the jungle and through the swamps in any minute now, and then we start to flatten out for the finish.
Yeah, you got these sulfur lacs. This is where people start to. Sometimes if you get the second pack, they can actually make ground on the front pack through here because you get that front pack starting to, ducks and drakes almost fighting for the back of the pack. So you get much lower wattage, much lower speed, and then you can get sometimes some early attacks where it stretches. So it's very, very strategic race. In my opinion, it's one of the most strategic races. And then ultimately, you finish off here with the sprint com. So once you start to see these ruins for the second time, I've just slowed this down here, and they'll come through. Not your typical big finish line banner. It finishes underneath this tunnel here.
Yeah, just a little white line there to finish.
Curtains.
So, definitely an area, that last section, if it's all together, we're going to see some 17, 18 watts a kilo being dumped. And speaking of which, Tim, let's highlight some of the athletes that are going to join us this evening or this morning in the Koa Sports Warrior Race.
Let's do it.
So first up, we're going to highlight an athlete named Greg Cohen out of the US of A. And Greg has done 59 races. So he's a Masters category rider, 178 centimetres tall and weighing in at a paltry 64 kilos. So huge power to weight ratio from Greg. He's joined us many, many times in the Koa Sports Warrior Race, many podiums. One interesting fact is he has raced against the great Luke Gilbert 11 times. Luke's taken the chocolates 10 times. Greg's knocked him over once. So if Luke's in the field this evening, we might see Greg go and have a crack at him again. So very interesting rider. Watch him out. Watch out for his sprint. It's about 16 to 16.5 watts a kilo for that 15 to 20 second effort if the group's all together at the end. So really looking forward to watching Greg as he smashes up the course this evening.
See, look at that magic. It's amazing. We're getting that really down pat, Greg. And we've even got the right backdrop today. So look at him, just a bit of me time there for Greg. So here's the next rider. We're looking at Pedro Ericka. Now, that is...
the best photo ever.
I delegated to Greg to do the rider cards, and he sent through the great Maradona. So apologies to Pedro, but hopefully you've got a good sense of humour. So Pedro... he has been with us the last 2 or 3 times here on the Koa Sports Warrior Race. He's had a top 5 finish. Pedro, we've identified as someone who he's got a great long sprint. He's an uphill sprinter, over 16.34 watts per kilo. We think that's going to come in super, super handy through Titans Grove. It's going to allow him to at least be in the finish. His short sprint sits slightly under some of these top guys, so potentially he may have to go a little bit earlier, may get swamped, but it's good to see Pedro back. And, of course, last time on the Koa Sports Warrior Race, his max heart rate was 198 beats per minute, which, looking back through his Zwift power data, that's the highest heart rate that we could find. So this race brings out the best in him. And, of course, you know, there's 3 types of thresholds in cycling now. You have your training threshold, you have your Zwift racing threshold, and you have your broadcast threshold, in my opinion. And broadcast threshold is a whole nother level. So good luck to Pedro tonight. We'll have a look at one more rider before we tuck into the paddock.
And we've certainly saved him one of the best Koa Sports Warrior Race athletes for the end tonight. We've got one of the more consistent riders in our paddock. So Alex Side hails out of Canada. He is 188 centimetres tall and 77 kilos. One of the best attackers in our races that we've seen since day one. He has done an amazing 17 Koa Sports Warrior races. So usually joins us every single race unless he has to pick up his kids or drop his kids off somewhere. So last 10 starts, he's had 1 win, 3 seconds, so just missing out on the chocolates, and a 3rd place finish in there as well. And he has set a new FTP only 2 starts back. So coming into some serious form is Alex. So look out for him in the Koa Sports Warrior jersey that is in-game. If you finish the race, you'll unlock the jersey and it'll pop into your garage. If you do want to buy the jersey in real life, jump onto our Facebook page. There is a link there, and you can do that by Sunday night, and we will deliver it to you anywhere in the world. So good luck to Alex this evening. I'm expecting to see him attack again right up that Titans Grove Comm like he does every time we go around this course. Righto, we're back, Tim. We're back.
Good stuff. We're inside 1 minute, definitely. I reckon we've got about 32 seconds to go, just off the top of my head. So let's go to the paddock. We'll talk over the top.
Huge paddock.
We've got some new features here that we're trialling, of course, here on the broadcast. Very special thanks to Nathan for allowing us to broadcast on his amazing Zwift Community Live channel. And, of course, check us out at Koa Sports 01 on Facebook and Instagram. We're, of course, full-time coaches. That is what we do for a living, but we're really driving this space of esports and e-racing, and we think it's a fantastic coaching tool. I wonder how many we've got. Here we go.
Over 200, Tim.
Here we go. So the trainers will be humming. Big start we expect. How many have we got in the paddock tonight? There's going to be some big numbers early. We've got some of the big teams, Ivany, Carilli. There's some of the names.
There's Giuliano, last week's winner, Tim, just popped in late.
Crack the 200, Greg. Yeah. Great to see over 200 starters tonight, and we hope we can get over 200 across the line. We're really big about that completion rate. We try to keep our races short, sharp, punchy, 1 lap. 10 laps can get a little bit dizzy at times, so we keep that for Grit City. But try, and if you're going to start, let's finish the job tonight. And of course, we don't just call the first pack through. We try and get back through the group. There's great racing to be seen back through B, C, D grade. So don't just log off after the big boys finish the race, so to speak. We will be calling other finishers as they come through, and there's that stretch starting to occur, but a very, very
huge
big front pack early.
Yeah, and speaking of the grades a little bit down the field there, Tim, big shout out to a long-term Koa Sports athlete, Joe Murrell, hails out of Tumut down in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales, doing her first ever Zwift race this morning.
Good on you, Joe.
Must have chucked a sickie. So she's in the paddock and out there on the course now.
Right in the firing line of the fires, mate.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Very lucky. But things turning around for them. And I will say this, after 3 weeks ago, it was 42 degrees in Tumut. Yesterday, 14 degrees.
Is that right?
Amazing.
That's good Zwift weather.
Yeah.
So here we go. So we spoke about this earlier. So things are already starting to settle down. Will the riders just sit in tonight? We may see a few big attacks off the front. It looks like we've got someone pressing it off the front there. We'll try and move through. Kent's going to start to get a bit of a feel for it in the helicopter. Carilli there, 4.1 watts per kilo. He could sort of work his way through the pack, and we'll work out what's going on at the moment off the front of the pack there. It looks to be, we're going Zwift Live. We've got Leclerc and Cochrane, Gumbel, Villarano, and JP View. We've definitely got someone there off the front, maybe putting a second in there. JPV, 5 seconds to the front. Early
this
attack
is a
there.
Genuine attack. He's one of the stronger riders in the Zwift community is JPV, and out of the Clan Knox team, and he is definitely trying to find a few more wheels to come across that gap to join him.
Yeah, probably a little. There's those ruins, so they'll come in here. So here's a bit of a look here at what you'll expect to see in the finish line. See, we get a double look at it, a bit like the volcano circuit, or whenever you lap a course the second time as well. So this is where we see, well and truly over 15, 16 watts per kilo. And of course, I remember 3 weeks ago when we were out here on this circuit, Gilbert had the hands in the air at about this point. Yep. He had about 3 seconds gap. So even in the last 3 weeks, there we go, 10 watts per kilo, Gilbert. Maybe
he must be listening. He must be listening.
Points maybe for Gilbert, but picking up, of course, coming through there. But
he's just got the sprint jersey popped up there on his icon there on the right hand side, and getting some really good exposure is Gilbert for the Laferte Bicycles team, and now joined most weeks by 2 or 3 of his teammates as well as they come through. So did see a few of the Cannondale team riders in there this morning too, Tim. So watch to see those guys come through as well.
Just holding a lazy 400 watts there, Gilbert, with a 5-second gap back to the main pack. Would need to be a big one, but with teams and the way people now ride here on Zwift Racing, there usually is some coordination as well. So maybe we'll get a few bridge across. Maybe they'll just let it sit out there and let him flap in the breeze, so to speak.
Yeah. So Gilbert came and won 3 races back to back, took the hat trick, and then the last 2 weeks we've just seen him just fall back just a fraction. Maybe he's in a big training block, or he's ready. Maybe he's ready to race tonight.
There's Pedro Ericart. His name has just popped up there in the pack, so we'll we did a rider preview there at the start, and got a bit of a stitch up there on the photo. So Giuliano, there's last week's winner as well. Giuliano, Christ is in there. It's great to have Christ with us as always. Chess and Wally and Carilli.
Yeah, there's and then Tim, I did see the name Endo pop up there. You did mention him pre-race. There he is, Team Finns, the great Endo out of Japan, who joins us most weeks as well. So this is each week, Tim. We keep saying this, but this is certainly the best field we've seen assembled.
It's growing, isn't it? It's great in the community. You get a good bit of buzz, and certainly once the broadcast is over, we get hammered with private messages, great feedback. We get some great constructive feedback as well. Here's a bit of action here. 12.6 watts per kilo by Fuchs for TODZ. He's bridged back across. We got Gumbel, and now we've got a breakaway of 3 riders. Can they coordinate and pull away from the main pack? Fuchs still there, just dropped back to 1.5. He's gone to the front. So Gilbert in there, and JPV still off the front. And then we've got back to the main pack, 2 seconds. 2 seconds, not going to be enough. But we were saying pre-ride that sometimes on these warrior races that you see these early attacks and it's almost like, are they using it as part of their warm-up? We've spoken about that before, whether you're late to the trainer, maybe you've got kids that aren't sleeping all that well and you don't get a proper warm-up, and you can use this race, you can use the first 10Ks to be part of, say, if you're doing a 20-30 minute warm-up, you can use this race to do that.
Absolutely. So there's definitely some time to warm up through as we go. So just to shout out to a few people on Facebook. So Thomas Torbick is picking Tim. He's doing my thing here. He's throwing out predictions. So he's got Justin Bold for the win. And shout out to Mark Willis. Troy from International Protein dialing in. He would be a man that could possibly be the first human to break a trainer.
Yeah, Troy, he would, of course, know very well what he's watching. He would have no idea what is going on at the moment, but that's what it's all about. While we're on that subject, so if you are tuning in for the first time and you're wondering what the hell you're looking at, let's go through some of the numbers that are on screen. Greg, I'll let you do the blue box.
The blue box. You're going to throw it. I think I know where the blue box is. So the big number in the top left there is, we're watching Ivany at the moment, so 300 watts. That's his actual physical watts he's pumping out. The RPM on the left-hand side, 94 RPM. Is his cadence, or how many times a minute his legs are spinning around on his bike, and his heart rate there, 159, as it sort of climbs up as we hit this first little climb, Tim, up to 180 beats a minute. Now he's starting to work a little bit.
Yeah, mid-box there, you've got the current rider speed at 44 kilometres per hour. Distance covered at 5.4 kilometres, so they've still got a ways to go, a little over 20 kilometres for this course. Metres climbed or elevation, 10 metres. That's all going to be stacked in the second half of this race, and time elapsed there. Top right, also, you get a little bit of an elevation profile. So you'll see a little bit of ghosting along the bottom there. That's your elevation profile, so you can clearly see where that orange dot is following. They're still on the flat section, and then it starts to really get interesting after 10 kilometres as they start to kick up through Titans Grove and into that comm. That is definitely not a place you want to be warming up through Titans Grove. That is a place where the heart is generally in the mouth. But JPV there, still sitting off the front. Great to see Craig Pike in there. We previewed Craig Pike last week. And watching Greg Cohen at the moment, Tim, who we previewed pre-race this evening as well. So he's in the field. This is going to... this is the biggest pack we've had at this time of this event. So it's going to be on up the comm. That's as they say. Winton in there. So we should say also, if you ride for a team or you're interested in having a rider profile and you like a little bit of me time, as Greg can certainly attest to, send us your rider profile. Send us a bit of a background if you want to send us a profile pic. If you don't, of course, we will put in a dodgy soccer player in your place. But get involved, and we want to enhance the Zwift community and let everyone know that the story behind the avatars, essentially. Yeah, absolutely. So just a quick, just to throw it out there, some people are getting a little bit of Twitch, a little bit of fizzle on Facebook. So jump across to Twitch or jump across to YouTube Live. We're live on those two channels as well on the Zwift Community Live page. So you'll be able to watch the race there. So I believe Facebook's maybe a bit jittery this morning. A little bit jittery. I think it was a bit jittery this morning also a few hours ago. So, unfortunately, I don't have control of Facebook. Do you? Oh, not yet. I'll get Mark on the phone later and we'll have a quick chat. 6 watts per kilo here, bold off the front. That was the tip, I think, in the Facebook was a little group. Tip there from Thomas. A 5-second gap back. Big, bold move here by Bold. See what I did there? 5 seconds back to Mercia. Cannondale in there. Jay Thomas, Cochrane, McClune. 5 seconds with some of the quality back in that pack. Not going to be enough, but good on Bold there for making it interesting and getting a little bit of screen time. Kent Cross, we will throw to Kent, believes he's got something to share with those at home.
Yeah, well, it makes sense that Justin's gone off the front for a bit. He's known to be a bit of a time trialist. Right. 375
if you don't mind,
for
umpire.
His FTP. So he's one to sort of spread the field out.
While you're on there, Kent, just to get an idea on that FTP, what's his weight showing on Zwift Power?
He is
under the bus.
83 kilos. That's FTP.
83.
But so 400 watts is FTP. Is.
Yeah, well, wow. Okay, so he's a 5 watt a kilo guy. So time trialist, him and Giuliano, certainly the two to watch in that sort of field.
That's big power.
So they possibly want to drag this field out a little bit because he's probably not seen as a climber in inverted commas. So we'll see what happens. The field's obviously coming back.
But you can't just, of course, you can't just take the 400 as is. You've got to put the weight in there. So
absolutely.
I think it was Cohen before the race we previewed is 61 kilos, for example. So there's a 22 kilo give there.
Yeah, watch that on the climb.
Even if Cohen has, say, an FTP of 320, he's actually ahead on watts per kilo. So that's a little bit of a trap that people can just get pulled into or sucked into the big numbers. Always you've got to take weight, particularly in Zwift racing, where watts per kilo is such an essential part.
Yeah, and especially on this course, because we've got that 2.2 kilometre climb, that really favours the lighter rider. So certainly the heavier riders need to try and stay with that group or try and bridge back on the downhill straight after it, as Tim still sips away on that coffee. Is it still hot?
No, it's a little bit. It's more like an iced coffee. But before we hit this Titan Grove circuit, let's take a bit of a breather. I'll have another sip of coffee, and we'll be back after this very, very short break.
Now, without sounding like we're trying to tell everyone how good we are, Tim, that's actually our little playground, our training playground area where we train every day. Well, some of us train every day.
Yeah, some of us
don't. Apart from spending a little bit of time on the trainer, I certainly haven't been doing a whole lot of running, but I do a lot of riding out on those hills. So, yeah, great spot to come on the Sunshine Coast in Australia.
And I know, Greg, you haven't checked the text that's rolling along the bottom of the broadcast. But
I'm busy.
When you get home and you watch it back, I'm sure you'll get a little bit of a giggle. There's a couple of little stitch-ups in there. So have a read through. We do like to have a little bit of fun. And, of course, we keep our top buttons undone all when we broadcast.
Mate, one day we might change that and run the top button and maybe throw in a couple of little shirts, a couple of different shirts there, Tim, maybe. So
Here we go. It's going to start to get interesting now. This pack is very, very tight. Dallas in there, Villarano, Bond, Lamoth is in there. Greg certainly know Lamoth. Rich we're with at the moment. Jansen, some big names in there. Marks, we know there's big power in this pack. Watch for that top right now. We're going to see up 1, 2, 3%. This is the first real climb, if you want to call it that. And this is the time when the pressure starts to come on. You'll see that heart rate start to slowly pick up on the top left. You'll see the power start to pick up. Just a rapid little, maybe a creep to a leap there. 8.5 watts per kilo by Mercier. Big numbers here as they come up. This will start to stretch out. We may actually lose 10 riders off the back, and will they be able to stay on? It's very hard to regroup now.
Huge numbers early in the race. 8-10 watts a kilo. Mercier still pushing that 8-10 watts a kilo sort of range. Heart rate starting to climb now, 180 beats a minute. 400. Look at that field start to stretch out, and there's already a few casualties hanging off the back.
Yeah, casualties is exactly right. It's a bit that concertina effect, though, because you get those rollers before we start the comp. So there is opportunity, but I wouldn't like to be sitting more than 5 or 6 seconds on a very, very long group, because in the front here, I can see some of those names, and they will be relentless coming up this Titan Grove comp. Yep. So really looking forward to what's coming here. Nefkins moves through to the front. Nice.
At the back of that back pack there, still see Craig Pike there in the Koa Sports jersey hanging in. It is starting to string out. They've actually sat up a tiny bit at the front. Heart rate's just dropping down to a lazy 177, Tim. So Craig Pike pushing across there on the Tron bike, coming back to the group. And this is all going to sort of come back together. There's Endo right at the front of the group as well. Villarano up there, 3-4% as they still climb up this hill.
Ericard and Endo, funny story that you can see on Zwift Power. They've raced 4 times, and Ericard has taken Endo 4 times so far. So a bit of a nemesis there for Endo, and a bit of a casualty there for Ericard. So that's where you get these little rivalries. I like these little stories. Certainly when you log in and you see some of those familiar names, maybe you find an extra few watts when you know you're up against someone who has beaten you in the past. And that's what this is all about, Zwift racing, finding that ultra threshold.
Yep.
And then you add in the broadcast, and then you just
another
go
10%.
Over the top and
another 10%.
As I say, get the bucket. Dallas in there. Yeah. Dallas is great. He's a great contributor, and usually does well on this circuit. He times his sprints well. He's won this race before. Yep. Early doors. I think it was late 2019 he took this race out, but this race has changed dynamics, it would be fair to say, over the last month. Since we've seen some of the bigger teams turning up.
Some huge hitters coming through. And another shout out there, Tony Render, he's on Justin Bold as well. Maybe Justin's throwing out a few little things out into the community and saying, I'm doing this race this morning, you better come watch.
A couple of the Laferty bicycle teams there. So Gilbert there in the blue Tron bike, just sitting on the wheel there of the man there with the disc wheel. That looks absolutely sensational. They're going to move through to the front. Maybe a little bit of coordination. Look at the size of this pack now. Just a little bit smaller, Greg. I think we've got a bit of, but maybe it's strung out again.
Yeah, once we sort of drift back, I think a couple of these will come on. But so the hardest part of this race, Tim, is you get dropped and popped over that first couple of little climbs. You get back on and bang, you hit the comm and you're going straight up a hill for 2.5 kilometres.
This is really the only chance now to get that heart rate down for the next 5 to 6 minutes, because then it starts to crack up through Titans Grove. So we're at -4%. You can start to maybe spin those legs out. Pikey here off the front loves to come to the front. Pikey there in the Koa Sports kit, sporting a lot of ride-ons there in the back pocket. So if you don't know what that is, if you see those little blue little sort of fluorescent things coming out there, the ride-ons collected that you can give and receive. I'm definitely a giver.
You're
Greg,
a bomber.
You're more of a receiver, in my opinion. You're a taker. Here we go. Start of the comp,
Tim's an absolute ride-on bomber. So if you're ever riding around on Zwift, you'll get a ride-on from Tim. He just sits at home on his companion app most nights and just throws out ride-ons. So
some good comments coming through on Facebook Live. We are, of course, here on the Titans Grove comm at the moment. All staying together. Nothing too dramatic at this point. Staying together. No big attacks yet. Perhaps they're waiting for the top end, or perhaps they're waiting for those force percenters that we get after the comm as well. There we go. It's the elastic band well and truly snapped. This is our front pack. It is curtains for those in terms of taking the win. But again, like we said at the start of the broadcast, we will call other groups through, not just the front group. So we want to get back to as many riders as possible, and all about getting some of those finishes through, because everyone, of course, sweats just as hard. It's all relative.
It's a very hard racing. So shout out to all the people watching over on Twitch as well. If you've got any comments, throw those through as well. Certainly a lot of people dialed in this morning, wherever they are in the world. I always have a giggle, Tim, when the athletes that we coach around the southern area of the world are dialing in at about 10 a.m. in Sydney and Melbourne. So working hard at the office or in the coffee queue as they go through their Friday workday. So still got Luke there sitting right at the front. We're just with him at the moment. Very, very well within his scope here. 172 beats a minute, not going way over the top. And we've still got the usual suspects, Tim. We've got Carilli, Ericart there, well entrenched in that group. Pikey's still in there. We've got Hooker. We've got the Big E and Dex Dines. We've seen Dex Dines, I think, came second in his last Koa Sports outing. And a big shout out there to Rich as well, who is one of the top 5 to 10% of riders in the Zwift world.
And we've got that. So that second pack sitting about 20 seconds back now. 20 seconds back. So interesting to note that. So that second pack, and then about a minute back to the next group. So 3 groups largely formed now of at least over 20 riders per pack. So here's this front pack though. Here, of course, we're following at the moment Cochrane in there and Thomas. A lot of American and Canadian flags, of course, the time zones and the way that this works, of course, being Friday morning here over in Australia. A lot of riders at work, but tuning in their cubicles, wherever they may be
around the planet. So yeah. Absolutely. So 3-4%. You can see on the top right-hand corner that little map when they hit obviously the rider we're following at the moment is Tomazawa from the Dirt team. So we're following him, and he will hit the top of that comm very shortly.
Not many power-ups being played. We do have a power-up being played there as that rider moves through to the front aero helmet as well. So here comes that log across the road. So often, I don't know what it is, but this is where things start to pick up through. Maybe it's just a psychological thing. People having to use power-ups maybe just to stay on or to coordinate attack. So Rich there through the front. Gilbert, 7.8 watts per kilo moving through.
Here's a genuine attack now from Gilbert and Rich, Tim. 9 watts a kilo from Rich. He's using his feather power-up to go across the gap. These athletes will all pick up another power-up as they cross the top of the comm, but not a gap there, not a winning gap whatsoever, but definitely stringing that field out again.
Starting to hurt, though. It's not a winning gap, but it could be winning damage.
And here comes Giuliano coming across the gap as well on the yellow Tron bike. Took the chocolates last week. So watch for him in the sprint finish. He's obviously in great form, a great triathlete out of the USA.
Moving up, JPV there on the pink, fluoro pink Tron bike. On the he's got the man bun, it looks like, JPV. I wonder if he sports the man bun in real life. And he's going to roll through the comm here first on the Titans Grove here tonight. And so JPV, 8.3 watts per kilo. Will he keep the pressure on down on the downhill? This is not a time to sit up. This is a time that also the pressure will stay on. lot of drop in wattage there, but that just typically is the trainer easing off, of course, the pressure as we go on at -5%.
Yeah, so definitely you can see a few athletes there in that crouch position. They're actually freewheeling, and like in real life, if you get over the top of a climb, you can freewheel a little bit there to stay in the group, but do not touch your pedals on your trainer because your avatar will sit up and start catching the wind again. That is an actual fact, Tim.
An actual fact.
An actual fact.
What I like about this, we haven't heard a prediction, the kiss of death.
No, I've been warned.
There's been no, because of course Greg has a strike rate of 0%.
I'm just going to back the favourite here. I'll go with Giuliano. It just suits him this course. He's in the front group. It's going to flatten out. He's a triathlete with huge 20-minute power, so I'm going to back him this evening.
JPV moving through to the back there, so came through to the front. We've got a little bit of a few games potentially going on here. Nice tight front pack, 56 kilometres per hour down on the backside here of Titans Grove. Not long to go.
Yeah, and 5 seconds back to that second group. So if they can just keep them in sight, we've often seen this front group sit up and do a bit of navel gazing as they roll through before the sprint. So they will probably roll back on as well. And we got Yamazaki there, Villarano, so some familiar names in that second pack. And Greg Cohen still established in that front pack as well. So these a few power-ups being dropped there. It's interesting, just trying to stay with the group. So this is these little ponture climbs that 8%, 6, 7, 8%, little 150, 200 metre efforts. But when you're on your max threshold, well, you're over your threshold, you're pushing 120%, they become very difficult to keep pushing. So
JPV and Gilbert here off the front. Just 1 second back, so not off the front, but I'm liking what I'm seeing.
They're trying to break it up,
Now, just
Tim.
to be clear, it's not certainly not a prediction, but JPV looks in form. He's moved through the pack quite a few times that maybe he's, I don't know, he just seems to be coming through. I like what I'm seeing with some of this power here tonight in the race. Gilbert in there as well. Ericart's still in there. Tomizawa hasn't come to the front yet. Of course, getting some good results out in Zwift racing at the moment, and Madsen as well.
Yeah, and that second group now back to 18 seconds, so I doubt we'll see that. If they come back, they're going to have to spend way too many bickies to get back into the group, so we'll concentrate on this front group of about 15 to 20 riders now that will look to fight it out for the finish, but definitely nowhere near the finish at this stage. We're about 6.5 minutes to go in this event, so if you're sitting on that threshold, just keep pushing and you'll make that sprint very shortly.
JPV at the back there, riding smart now. So this is that tournament fighting for the back. So they'll pop out. We did this in the ride preview at the start of the broadcast. Of course, we tried to take people through. They're going to pop out onto these sulfur-type flats and then out onto the sand circuit again, where we do see early attacks, but it's very hard to hold it off. It's very hard when you've got at least 4 or 5 riders in here who can hold well and truly over 15 watts a kilo for 15 seconds. Gaps of 3-4 seconds can be crunched up very, very quickly. So Gilbert in there, of course, well and truly capable of those numbers. And Rich and of course, VH, we know, and Dallas.
Yeah, and a shout out to a really good friend of yours, Tim, Mark Willis, who is clearly dialing in. He likes what I'm doing with the actual fact.
An actual fact, yeah. He has to always clarify.
It's not actually BS, it's an actual fact.
Yeah, we've been called on that before, Mark. So, good feedback for Greg. Keep it coming. He needs plenty of feedback.
Plenty of help required.
He loves feedback.
I love feedback. As long as it's positive and gives me a little bit of a head wobble, I'm all good with it.
Giuliano in there. So, in the red kit, Giuliano... he won last week and he won very, very well. A very well-timed sprint attack. So Giuliano just sort of bottom right there on the yellow Tron bike in the all-red kit. Certainly one to watch for in the finish. D-Ham, Big E in there as well. VH, of course, and Gilbert and Dallas. So same riders here, and a few teams, a couple of multiple teams in here as well. So maybe some coordinated attacks and big numbers. So 290 watts, 170 beats per minute here for Mercia. They're coming now back onto the flats, 1% gradient down, a little bit uphill, a little bit downhill. Then it'll start to really flatten out and look for those ancient ruins as they get out onto the sands part of this end circuit.
Yeah, and if you're watching at home or at work and you're looking for the time there in the top center of the screen, 24 minutes. Last time around this circuit, Tim, they went 29 flat. So expect about 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, team draft in there. You can see on the right-hand side, just Giuliano there sitting beautifully on the wheel there of his teammates. So expect maybe a lead out. Will they let that happen? Gilbert now moving through to the front. Still a ways to go though. Still
yeah,
2Ks.
this is going to cut a prediction, Tim. This is going to be early attacks because there's multiple athletes from multiple teams. He's shaking his head.
We've got to look out for Bold. So Bold's
been the tip.
Bold's been a tip on Facebook.
Eric Hart's still in there.
Yeah, Eric Hart's in there racing smart. So we haven't seen Eric Hart come to the front. So smart racing also. This is look at that wattage, 250, 200 watts. So we're talking about this pre-race where it's 27 seconds back to the second group. That's certainly well done and dusted. But 190 watts, Greg. So they are just easing the legs up if you don't mind.
Yeah, 27 seconds back to that second group who has Yamazaki leading B grade in that group as well. No B grade in the front group tonight. Yamazaki is leading B grade in that second group. So hopefully he holds on to take the win there. So yeah, we're just all looking at each other. We're all just cruising along. So Luke's heart rate there, Gilbert's heart rate back to 157. He was 175 over the climb.
Yeah,
so he might be having a little cappuccino as he waits for this to ramp up. Though it's always interesting. Someone's going to have to go here at some stage. So who it is, we'll find out any second.
Two really good draft riders in there, Big E and Giuliano. They're certainly going to work They're going to work out some sort of attack, Greg, playing into the hands tonight here of the big sprinters. That is exactly what they want to see. That has been served up on a platter. They've been allowed the last 90 seconds to lower that heart rate, spin the legs out, and pack the big punch for the big sprint finish. So look for some big numbers. We may see an attack certainly in the next 30 to 45 seconds. Not long to go.
How Eric Hart comments while he's racing, I don't know, but he's like, Cannondale's got the big numbers, so watch for the Cannondale team. Here we go now. A couple of power-ups being played off the front, but still no real attack. So
no real attacks. We've got Gilbert in there, of course, Mercier.
Someone commenting there. So Luke's saying he's going to go at 26:30, which is right now. So he's predicting his own race. I don't know what's going. There's a bit of foxing going on here.
It was in a different language, so that could mean anything, and I'm certainly not willing to translate. So Gleason in there from race 3R as well, got in the brackets beside his name. Rich Dextine's in there, and
they know it's the last lap, right, Tim? They know it's the last lap here.
Absolutely.
They're all aware of that.
Wait for on the right hand side. I'm waiting for some orange numbers. We've got 6 watts per kilo, 5 watts per kilo, 7.9 watts per kilo by Madsen. There we go. Here comes the first attack. We're going to move through to the front. We got Rich at 9.1 watts per kilo. He's got Dextine 11.4 watts per kilo. That isn't an early attack.
Has finished second before.
Let's see who is going. Eric Hart, this is the man we previewed right. He's got that long sprint we were talking about, but right on his hammer is the pack. So Eric Hart and Dextine here off the front. Rich back to him, 10 watts per kilo. And Cohen, of course, we previewed mid-ride. Eric Hart off the front, and we've got beautifully just off his back wheel is Rich. These guys have taken out 2 riders off the front. Cohen there, 9 watts per kilo. JPV at 12.4 watts per kilo. Watch for Giuliano.
Giuliani's still sitting in.
He's sitting in. He's just going to time his run perfectly. We're going to see big numbers by Giuliano here on the yellow Tron bike, but someone off the front here from Cannondale Echelon, 13.1 watts per kilo. Cannondale Echelon going to take the win tonight, and they have got the chocolates.
And we've got Luke in there. Giuliano just didn't quite time it right with those heart rates dropping back down, Tim.
Prowl.
They just didn't quite get there.
And Prowl X, we did not see Prowl X come to the front once. Not even once for the race, and then just bobbed up at the right time with a well-timed sprint.
Here's the replay now.
In a sense, here's the sprint. And it's a look at that off the front. So this is the second pack, is it? Yeah, Kent coming through. You got another sprint pack coming through. Jay Thomas, 9.4 watts per kilo. He's going to get swamped here by Villarino. Villarino looks like he's going to come through just at the right time. And Sullivan or Villarino there taking the chocolates in the second pack. Greg with the almighty bum steer.
We're watching 2 screens at the same time, so I just threw the wrong one there. So a huge effort there by all those riders. That was a lot shorter sprint than what I thought. And here's the replay, Tim. So we had Prowl off the front. I think it was about 14 watts a kilo, if you don't mind. And then Giuliano just left it too late. So able to hold that sprint for a little bit longer because the heart rates came right down. So it wasn't like they were on like that over threshold effort as they came through. So
Prowl just wonderfully done, and a good gap too. Not too close. I mean, absolutely got the job done, and just left it a little bit too late. And that is, of course, what you can get in Zwift racing. It's not just all about the numbers. It's about playing the power ups at the right time. It's about getting those sprints right at the right time. Wonderful. We might try and see if we can pick pick up another couple of finishes, Kent, not to throw you
jumping,
under the bus
I'm
there,
jumping to the results
but,
here, but you
we'll
guys
try and
keep
pick
going
up some
there.
of the results on Zwift Live as well. I'm not sure that we can do that.
That's all good. Doesn't
we'll wait
always
for Kent
work.
to confer, but mate, that was a very, very late attack. We're back here with Christ. So back here in B grade here at the moment. So we might try and call these guys through. We've got a nice pack there of around, what have we got, 4 or 5 riders in this pack? We'll try and pick up who they are so we can get familiar with the names. So this is what we do like to do. We've got a couple of packs. Let's stay with this one, Kent. So we've got Casey in there, Christ in there, Toscano, and Sats in there, Greg, as well.
Yeah,
Cryogen Hawks as well. So what have we got? 5 riders. Cryogen there in the blue kit. You can clearly see, and someone there on orange helmet as well. So Casey as well.
So the race tonight was a hell of a lot faster than last time around this circuit. So a whole minute faster. These guys now just coming through 30 minutes. So they wouldn't have been far off the win last time round. So as much as they sat up and had a look around at each other, there was certainly a lot going on this evening. So
yes, so here's that pack. We've got 6 riders in this pack. So interesting to see. So they're doing much the same here, leaving it till very, very late. You can see up the road they've even got a couple of other couple of packs. But this is what it's all about in Zwift racing. It's not about the front. It's also about all the way back through. So Casey here, 3.4 watts per kilo, 3 watts per kilo back to Christ, and I got that right, Christ, and Toscano 3.7 watts per kilo. They're about to start the sprint com with about 800 meters to go. A little bit to go,
Tim. So we might just jump across to the results while we're watching these guys and stats there and Casey from the Cryogen team. So taking out the win tonight was Eric Lascelles out of the Cannondale team. Second place, Scott Gleeson, just pipped Ryan Giuliano on the line. And Gilbert continues his great form in the Koa Sports race, taking out 4th place. We had Tomazawa picking up 5th. Mon Rich, who was certainly one to watch, in 6th place. We had Munier, Madsen, Endo, of course, always figuring in the top 10 in the Koa Sports Warrior League, and Eric Sorensen getting into the top 10 there. We had we had 19 riders pretty much contest that sprint within 2 seconds.
Rice there, 4.7 watts per kilo coming through to the front. We're with Casey here. We've got 6 riders here coming through. Be nice to call these guys through. It looks like we got up to 5.8 watts per kilo there. Cooter off the front, back to Cryogen at 3.8 watts per kilo. Stats there, 7.1 watts per kilo. Definitely sitting on the wheel there beautifully of Christ. 6.1. It looks like it's going to come down to these two. Christ now off the front. Comes out of the saddle, 7.1 watts per kilo now, Christ. Well-timed attack there, Sats, and it looks like we've got Kudo here moving up on the inside, playing the aero helmet just at the right time. Can he get it done? A draft bus being plaqued there by S. Halls, but it looks like in this second pack here, we do have Kudo taking that group of 6 riders to finish. Well-timed power up there. So getting used to playing power-ups at the right time, Greg.
Yeah, good. And a shout-out to all the other riders that are still out there on course. Get out there, rip it in, and finish things off. So what a race.
Yeah,
wow.
Look out for, so we, just to give a little bit of a plug, we did a podcast yesterday with Johnny Paulson, the owner, founder, and MD of Black Sheep Cycling. So if you are interested in cycling and watching, funnily that, look out on Sunday, our Koa Sports podcast is going to drop. A
great chat from a guy that doesn't like the word entrepreneur, Tim, but we threw that in there a few times. So that's what Johnny is. He's a great guy, and we'll be dropping that on podcast on Podomatic, on iTunes and Spotify on Sunday evening Australian Standard Time. So Monday morning in the US, you will find that.
If you're not sure of Black Sheep, just think Lamb Chop, and you'd be very, very familiar with Lamb Chop here on Zwift as well. So, mate, super race here tonight or this morning. I'm going to finish that ice-cold coffee off. Kent, thanks very much, mate. You've done a fantastic job.
Once again.
And we, of course, will be back next week. We are
we're going next week.
Utopia Flat. I think
we must
we're doing
be.
a couple
we must
of laps
be.
of
2 laps of Utopia Flat, and we'll see you there. Thanks, guys.
Kilo by Sproul.
Jason's coming back. Chris is coming back over the top.